Good afternoon.
Good evening, ladies.
Kavod Harav, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, thank God.
Baruch Hashem.
Okay.
Is it Facebook recording, Rabbi?
Yeah, I'm just doing that right now.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Okay. No, again, Victor. Okay, so I think we're in the middle of it. Yosef. It says Katav Od Hagur. Is this right? Oh, no. We have to do Hey, which is back there.
I think we did Bet Joseph
Yeah, we did Dalid.
last Dalet. Mhm.
Now we gotta do Hey. Okay. So it says Vezu Nuscha. This is the text. Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah. That's the text of the blessing of the Torah, the first blessing. Says Bet Yosef, Pashut Sham, says it's Pashut. Where is that? In the same place, right? In the Gemara there. V'katav Arosh, says the Rosh, V'yesh mekamot shomrim la'asok b'divrei Torah. As we said, right? Some places say la'asok b'divrei Torah. The Ashkenazim say like that. V'Rabbeinu Yonah, katav b'muschot meduyakot. So says Rabbeinu Yonah, in the more precise, right, text, he says, Matzah al divrei Torah. It says al divrei Torah. Katav Rabben David Abu Raham says this rabbi. Sheoter nachon lomar al divrei Torah. More correct to say al divrei Torah. Because it includes the mitzvot and the learning. V'chen katav Eben Yarchi. Okay. Klomar means to say that the ilu la'asok b'divrei Torah. If it would just say to toil in the words of Torah, al kriyat Torah. It's only regarding that only corresponds to the reading of the Torah. But it seems to me that you should push this out and say that on the contrary, my tama gufe adif tfei. What's the reason why it's why is it better to say la'asok b'divrei Torah? Shehi bracha miuchelet l'kriyat Torah, because it's singled out for the reading of the Torah. Shehu ba la'asok, which is coming because now he's coming to toil in Torah. Ba now, achshav milvarech al divrei Torah. Better to do than to divrei Torah. Why? Shekolev gam ken asiyat mitzvot, because that also includes the mitzvot. This is what we saw the text in the tour, right? All this we already read this. שאינו בא עכשיו לעשותם ולכשיעשם. So he says he's now not coming to do them, and then when he's going to do them, mevarech, they know bless al kol mitzvah or bracha miyuchadet la. They know bless on each blessing as it pertains. B'kol makom, he says, nevertheless, nuschat Rambam, but the Rambam, right, has the nuscha, has the text al divrei Torah. Ha'arev na Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratecha. So then it goes on, right, that Hashem should sweeten the words of Torah in our mouths. So what is this talking about, by the way? That we should enjoy it, right? That's the idea. That it should be enjoyable for us to study Torah. That's what we're saying here. V'gam zeh sham. It's also there. It says, Rabbi Yochanan Amar. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Ha'arev na Adonai Eloheinu, like that. Baruch atah Hashem, hamlamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Then this is the blessing, right? Blessed you are God, who teaches the Torah to his people of Israel. That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. Rav Hamnuna Amar. Rav Hamnuna says, Asher ba'achar banu mikol ha'amim. He chose us from all the peoples. Baruch atah Hashem, noten Torah. That's what. So Amar Rav Papa. So Rav Papa says, Hilkach nimrunu ekurhu, says we'll do all these blessings, right? All three of them. So that's why we do all three, even though it was said by different rabbis. But we combine it, right? Make it into a smorgasbord, and take up the whole thing, right? The whole thing from beginning to end. Okay, good. That's how we do it today. So it says, "Umash katav sheyesh chotamim bracha arev na baruch atah Hashem noten Torah," and he says there are also some who say noten Torah, right? Harev na baruch atah Hashem noten Torah. We don't do it that way. Ken katav rosh. That's what it says in the Rosh. There are some people who do it that way. Good. Mikom makom, he says, "Umash katav," and not what you wrote. Ven lachtom baruch atah Hashem. Lamadeni chukecha. Shouldn't say lamadeni chukecha. Sheno lashon beracha. It's not a blessing really. Be'odah l'shavar, right? Or thanksgiving for the past. That was the language of the Torah. Ken katu sham Rashi. That's what Rashi says also in Tosfot. That adds a bit Yosef. More sources. Okay, very good. So that's the end of it. So we'll do Shulchan Aruch. If we didn't do it yet, I'll do it now. Maybe we did it already, but I'm not sure. Okay, let's see. Shulchan Aruch, Brachot Torah, right? So, what's the blessings of the Torah? The text. It says, "Asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah." As we do in the Siddur. Look in your Siddur and you'll see it there. Ve'arev na, and then right, make sweet for us, and then v'asher b'achar banu, right? That's he's making it short, right? Abbreviation here. Obviously, it's a little bit longer than this, but he's telling you the main, right? The main elements there. The abbreviation. Okay, very good. So that's the story there. Let's go to Vav.
Amen.
So it says, "Umash katav yesh domar be'arev na bevav," and not what you wrote the Torah. You should say the be'arev, mix sweet with a vav. Why? Ki bracha echad, because it's really one blessing. It's connected with the blessing beforehand. Al lasok b'divrei Torah, with the lasok b'divrei Torah. Sheilu hayta bracha b'fnei atzma, because if it was a blessing by itself, haya hayta potachat bebaruch. It would open up with baruch. Ken katvu Tosfot perek shlosha she'achlu. That's what it says in Tosfot in this perek brachot mem vav amud aleph. Or perek arvei psachim also there. And Psachim, Kuf Dal Amud Bet, Uper Kama de Ketubot, also in Ketubot, Chet Amud Aleph. So there's a lot of sources for this. B'Shem Rabbeinu Tam, in the name of Rabbeinu Tam. V'chen Katav Rosh, also Rosh writes this, B'Sod Perek Kama de Berachot, in the end of the first Perek of Berachot, V'Zer Hashono, this is language of Rabbeinu Tam. U'Lefi Masher Agil Rabbeinu Tam. Actually, this is language of Tosot, right? So Tosfot says, since the Rabbeinu Tam was accustomed, lefaresh, to explain like this, whenever the blessings are short, even if it's one next to the other, right? A series of blessings, consecutive, one next to the other. It opens up with Baruch. Starts with Baruch. Like for instance, the blessings of Havdalah, ubrachot shel chuppah, and also the blessings of chuppah. Right, those are the 7 blessings that we make for the wedding. Okay. Im Ken, it says, if so, hayat tzarich lebracha arev na sheteheh potachat. So it says, if so, we would need that the blessing of ha'arevna, to sweeten the words of Torah, that it should be opening with Baruch, potachat beBaruch, according to what we just said. Shota shedefanei ktsara, because the one before that is a short blessing. So according to that rule, it should open up with Baruch. Therefore, because of that, Rabbeinu Tam used to say, this is just the end of the first blessing. And he used to say, in other words, with a vav, because it's really one long blessing. It also says Rabbeinu Yonah, also, all these rabbis. But the Rambam, the Perek Zayin, Minchot Tefillah, 7th Perek of the laws of Tefillah, Katav, he writes over there, Sheshalosh brachot 10, it says there's 3 blessings for the blessings of the Torah, altogether 3. Right? So therefore he writes the Ha'arev with no vav. So in other words, the Rambam considers it to be 3 blessings, right? But according to Rabbeinu Tam, it's really 2. Because the first 2 are connected. It's one long blessing. Okay. Goes on to say, Katav Rashba, says the Rashba, Shechen dat bala ma'or. That's what it says also in the bala ma'or. V'gam Tosfot, also Tosfot, he says, Katvu perek arbe psachim, also there, in this perek, al divrei Rabbeinu Tam, regarding Rabbeinu Tam, Umiu says Yerushalmi, but it says in Yerushalmi and Brachot, Parich, it says objects regarding Behare Havdalah. What about Havdalah? And so in other words, Havdalah doesn't follow this rule that you just mentioned. Mishane, so he answers Rabbi Hava Mefazran. So he says Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he used to mefazer, these blessings, right? So now we'll explain what that means. Perush, right? Makshe echi amrat. He's asking explanations like this. He's asking, how can you say the brachot smucha lechaverta, then one blessing which is next to the other, ena potachat bebaruch, it doesn't open up with Baruch, but you see that it does. You see in Havdalah that it does open up like that. Sheyesh ba kama brachot, which has several brachot. He says, nevertheless, potech ba bebaruch, it still opens up with Baruch, starts with Baruch. He answers there, Shani brachot Havdalah. So he says the blessings of Havdalah are different. Why? Rabbi hayam mifazran, because Rabbi used to scatter these blessings, right? Scatter them. So what does that mean? He doesn't say them consecutively in like one series. Glomar, now he explains, right? Sheloya omran alakos. He didn't say all these blessings on the cup like we do, you know? Like we take the cup and we say all these blessings on the cup. He would say each one by itself. Shema Amina, so he says, you learn from here, the Elav, the Rabbi Mifazran, if it wasn't for the fact that Rabbi is scattering these blessings, Loya potech ba bebaruch, then he wouldn't open it up with Baruch. Mishum, the bracha smucha lechaverta. Why? Because it's one blessing next to the other, so it shouldn't open up with the Baruch. Okay. So then it says, but even though that these are like short blessings, that's what it seems also from Rashi. The first parak of Ketubot, Birkat Chatanim, regarding the blessings of the chuppah, right? When you get married. What does that mean? The matbea katzar nami bracha smucha lechaverta ena potachat. So it says there, also with the blessings of the wedding, the chuppah, they're short blessings. So therefore, each one gets a baruch, even though it's one next to the other. It's a series of blessings. Okay. Then he goes on and say, Ena potachat doesn't open with Baruch, doesn't open with Baruch. Let me go back and say it again. So he says, bracha smucha lechaverta. When you have a blessing, one next to the other, it doesn't open with Baruch. Ena potachat Baruch. Katav Rabbeinu David Avraham. Says Rabbi David Avraham, Shechen ikar. So that's the halacha, it says. That's the way it should be. Kevan she'alashon mishtaneh, because the language changes, umdaber lehaba, and it's talking about the future. So he says that's how we're accustomed to say without a vav, according to this this rabbi. That's the end of it. He says dat Rashi, but it says nevertheless, the opinion of Rashi is the brachot in the brachot. Ve'arev gedat Rabbeinu Tam. He says ve'arev with a vav like Rabbeinu Tam. Shena bracha b'fnei atzma. Why? Because it's not really a separate blessing. Katav Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yochanan wrote Mesayem ba hachi the bay pticha bebaruch v'chtima baruch. So Rabbi Yochanan would conclude like this, that it needed to open with a blessing and also baruch and close with baruch. It says, practically speaking, right? It says Bet Yosef. What do we do? Do we do like Rabbeinu Tam or do we do like Rambam? And so he says, Lomar, it seems to say that it seems reasonable to say Veharev in Vav. We should say with the Vav. Meaning to say that it's two separate blessings. If you look at your Siddur, by the way, you're going to find it like that. Except the Ashkenazi Siddur, I don't know. We'll see what's going on with that. But in our Siddur, that's the way it is.
I'm sorry, the Ashkenazi also has the...
Has the Vav?
Yeah.
Okay.
A question. The Vav means and, correct?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. But when it comes to Ashkenazim, there's different Siddurim. Are you talking about Ashkenaz or Sfard or Chabad? Which one are you talking about?
Well, I have the Ashkenaz Wasserman.
Okay, so what does it say there? With a vav or without a vav?
You mean in the brachot of the Torah or
yes,
the Havdalah?
The blessings of the Torah, veharev. Does it say harev or veharev?
The phonetically speaking, I have to look for the other siddur. I have a different one, but I don't use that one as much as the English one.
Okay, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. So what about you, Esther? What do you got there?
I can look for it. It's right here.
Okay, no problem.
It says Vayhi ben Sa. Vayhi ben Sa.
Are you talking about the blessings of the Torah?
I think it's the opening of the Ark of the Torah. So,
No, we're talking about the blessings of the Torah.
Oh, okay.
That we make every morning, that we make every morning?
Yes, okay. Look for it.
Okay, what do you got, Bruria?
I'm working on it.
Okay, meanwhile, we'll go on. We'll figure it out anyway. Okay, we'll figure it out. So let's go on. So it says like this, right? So it says we should say with the vav, because he says according to ones who say that's one blessing, the Ramah will tell us, right? What's the bin Haggadah Ashkenazim? It's very simple. Don't worry about it. So I was just wondering if you have it handy there, or you remember. Okay, so anyway, right? So he says, going to want to say it's one blessing. If he lacks the vav, so he's doing an interruption in the middle of the bracha. But Quantum wants to say that's one blessing by itself. Even if shamu in vav, even if you say it with vav, and b'chaklum. So you know what he's saying over here about Yosef? In other words, let's say we're not sure, right? Which one is the halacha? With the vav or without the vav. So he says, but what happens is that if you say with the vav, less damage comes out of that. But if you say without a vav, right, then it becomes like sort of like a problem because you're making an interruption in the blessing. Okay, whatever. We'll see in the Ramah what it says there. Katav Rabbeinu Yonah. It says Rabbeinu Yonah. Birkat Asher Bachar Banu. It says this blessing, Asher Bachar Banu, Potachat beBaruch, opens with Baruch, Mipnei Shederech Hi Leomra Bifnei Atzma, because it's usually the way to say it by itself. Kishemevarchin Torah, when we bless on the Torah, right? Meaning what? When you go up to read the Torah in the shul. Katuv b'Teshuvat Rashba, says the Teshuvah Rashba. Sha'alta, says you asked. Kishanu mevarchin al Torah, says when we're blessing on the Torah, the whole boker every morning. Lama enanu mevarchin de'achalea. Why don't we bless also afterwards? Interesting, right? By the way, what does that mean afterwards, right? What, you finished learning? Maybe you're going to learn more later on. So, okay, we'll see what that means. Teshuvah, he answers like this, the Rashba. Kiyat Torah mitzvah ve'en mevarchin. So he says, reading of the Torah is a mitzvah, and we don't bless al mitzvot. We don't bless on the mitzvot. After the mitzvot. Siman, I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry, I found it and it is Baruch. It starts with a Baruch.
No, not Baruch. Is it with a vav? Ve'ha'arev?
Because it has like reading of the Torah and all of the blessings starts with Baruch.
No, not the reading of the Torah. I'm talking about when you make blessings for the Torah in the morning. After the morning blessings over there, you need to look over there. It's the beginning of the Siddur.
Oh yeah, okay. Blessings.
You know what I mean?
It's because I'm not used to the Ashkenazi, so I'm not.
I got it. Okay, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out.
I have a Nusach Ashkenaz women's Siddur.
Which one is that? Ashkenaz? Okay, Ashkenaz.
Ashkenaz, and it says it's Ha'arev not. It's there's a Ve. V'ha'arev not.
Oh, it's with a vav. Okay, there you go. Okay, so yeah, so it looks like they do it. Let's see what the Ramah says, by the way. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
I guess they go like the Ramah. Okay, so very nice. Let's go on. So it says you can't get more Ashkenaz than Ashkenaz. You know, that's about as far as it goes. Yeah. Okay.
So what is the because the Ashkenazi Siddurs also have Nusach Sephard, right? But it's still Ashkenazi.
Right, but the Sephard is like a mixture. It's a hybrid model.
Okay.
You know what I mean? As I told people already, you know, there was a whole rebellion there. The Hasidim rebelled against the Ashkenazi world, you know. So there was a whole war that went on there, you know, a whole struggle. So what the Hasidim were interested in doing is being Sephardi, basically. You know what I mean? But then the Ashkenazim objected to that, and they told them, "You can't be Sephardi. You're Ashkenaz. Like, you know, don't pretend like, you know, you're Sephardi. Like, you know, you're not." So therefore, you know, they made some kind of a compromise in the middle somewhere. So that's Nusach Sfard, right? That's what it is. It's a hybrid model, like the Toyota Prius. You know, if you know what I mean. Okay.
Was that conflict between the Georgian Jews in Queens and the Russians in Brooklyn, by any chance?
I didn't know there was one. I'm sorry.
If I may ask, the participants in this lecture, how many are Sephardi and How many are Ashkenaz?
We have one Ashkenaz, right? That's it.
Okay. Does that person feel uncomfortable because there's a lot of
Yeah, she's probably sweating now. She's probably sweating and getting the hives.
I'm
Yeah,
considering.
Right, Maria? Right, Maria?
I'm considering here.
Looks like she's gonna make it. She'll make it. It's all right.
It's not the
And what- and what does she follow? I mean, what?
Well, she follows her custom, I guess, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
I see. But it's okay for her to sit through these lectures.
Yeah, we follow. We say both sides. We don't say only one side.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you
Right.
see, what is it? The Ramah, that's the Ashkenazi way of doing
Yeah.
things.
I see.
Mhm.
No,
Right.
I just feel I cringe sometimes with some of the derogatory remarks made.
Yeah, we make fun of them all the time, of course.
Mm,
We only
Okay,
make fun of
so-
men, David. It's okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you should.
Perfect.
You should say you should hear what we say off the mic. It's even worse. Okay.
Mm.
Here we go.
Now you're gonna make me really. Now it's like pure pressure. Then I'm gonna have no choice than to switch.
Yeah, no, we don't. We don't do hot mics. So like those politicians. Okay, so yeah. Let's go on. So it says, yeah. See, the truth is, that the Torah, it's comes from different sides. So when you're doing class in halacha, you have to cover every side. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. Otherwise, you're not really doing your job so good.
Surprisingly, Kavod Harav, that when you look for like certain halachot in the Mishnah Berurah, it also refers to Bet Yosef.
Of course, because it's a part of the jargon. I mean, you can't live without that. We call it, that's the way it is. We call it. My rabbi used to tell me like this. Maran Rabbi he says, if an Ashkenazi comes to me, he says, I'll tell him like it says in the Ramah. It's very simple. What's the big deal? By the way, you guys should know that my rabbi, Maran Rabbi Shalom, he knew the Torah of the Ashkenazim better than the Ashkenazim. I'm not joking when I say that. He was very, very expert in all the customs and all the books and all the sources, everything. So Baruch Hashem, when you have a responsible rabbi, he knows how to please everybody. What does that mean, to please? To give them what they need, not what they want, what they need. Right? Okay. All right, good. So let's go on. So the Rashba answers this question, right? As we said. So yeah, we covered that pretty much. Right, so it's going on still, right? Right, so the question was like this, okay? The question is, why don't we say also a blessing after the learning of Torah, right? When we finish. This was the question that they asked the Rashba. So it says like this, right? Tshuva. We'll read it again, right? Pick it from the beginning. Top line. So it says, reading the Torah is a mitzvah, and we don't bless on the mitzvot after you do the mitzvah. Like it says in the Masechet Nida, Nun Aleph Amud Bet. It says, don't now come and ask me a question. What about when we read the Torah in the shul, right? Don't they also say a blessing after as well? So if you're going to ask me about that, so it says over there, Moshe Rabbeinu and Ezra, they were metaken, they made a special decree to say also afterwards. Not only before. Only when you read the Torah in public, right? In the community. Ve'al takanot, it says mevarachin mifnehem ulachem. So it says when it comes to these kinds of enactments, right, we bless before and afterwards. It's also when we do Hallel and Megillah, Same thing, right? We bless before and we bless after. So when it comes to these enactments of the rabbis, we do before and after. But in general, right, for the mitzvot, we don't bless after the mitzvah, only before the mitzvah. Right? And by the way, don't ask me also another question, right? Don't ask me about why do we bless then after eating, right? Also after bracha, we make also. You know what the answer is to that, right?
We said yesterday because we're commanded by the Torah
Commanded for what?
to say blessings after.
Birkat Hamazon is what we see.
Right, but according to what the Rashba said, right, that we don't make blessings after the mitzvah. So then why do we make blessings after eating?
Isn't that has to do with releasing the sparks of the souls of the?
Yeah, well, yeah, according to Kabbalah maybe, but I'm talking about the simple, the simple stuff.
I don't know, unfortunately.
Blessing.
What the answer is very. I'm sorry.
Blessing of Thanksgiving, right?
I'm sorry.
Blessing of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you know what the answer is? Very simple, guys.
Giving thanks for being satiated.
Yeah, but the answer is very simple. You know what the answer is? That eating is not a mitzvah. I hate to break it to you, but
Eating is not a mitzvah.
no, it's not to eat. Just if you're hungry, you eat. You know what I mean? It's because your body wants to eat, not because that you're commanded to do so. You know what I mean?
So the blessing is one of Thanksgiving then.
Yeah, exactly. It's a praise. Praise, Thanksgiving, right? It's not a mitzvah it's not a blessing for a mitzvah. Exactly. Yeah. So that's the story. Okay.
How about water?
What about water?
They pray after drinking a certain amount.
Yeah, if you drink 3 ounces in one shot, you make after blessing as well. Or in the fashot.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, very quickly. 3 ounces, which is a Revi'it, right? The Revi'it. Okay, very good. So, all right, very good, very nice. Let's go on. So, he finishes with that. Benini says Bet Yosef, it seems to me, even if we were blessing after the mitzvot, if there was such a concept like that, says, Lo kasha, it's still not difficult. Why? The mitzvot Hagayat Torah he kol hayom, since right learning Torah is all day, b'chol halayla and all night, ve'en shah she'eno chayav la'asok b'Torah. There is no hour in the day when you're not obligated to learn Torah. You're obligated to learn every hour of the day. So lo shayach levarech le'acharei. So therefore, it's not relevant to bless afterwards because you never finish. How do you know you finished? Right? That's the whole thing. Yeah. So what do you mean? What do you mean by saying bless afterwards? What do you mean? There should be no after. You should be learning all the time. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? I'm talking about the men, of course, right? The women are only obligated to learn all the time. I mean, they could, if they have time, they could do so if they want. Nobody's going to stop you, but but for the men are really obligated to learn all the time. So yeah, it's with men it's a different world. I mean, we're commanded to learn Torah all the day and night, right? It says v'hagita bo yomam v'layla. Where does it say this is pasuk? You should meditate in it day and night. It says, right? Where is this pasuk? In Yoshua, right? The first parak of Yoshua. So right there you go, right? You gotta learn day and night. So the rabbis tell us, Maran Alav Shalom, he used to tell us, is there a time of day where it's not day or night? Either it's day or night, right? So that means you got to learn all the time.
So that and working and providing for a family and the rest of the stuff that we have to put up with is much more difficult than bearing a child for 9.
So the thing is like this, right? That every time that you have a moment free, you have to learn Torah. You know what I mean? You got let's say you got a free hour, right? So now let's see, I have an hour free. Okay, I could do 2 things, right? I could watch some videos on YouTube, or learn Torah. So if you didn't learn Torah, you did a sin, by watching YouTube for an hour. I mean, you shouldn't have done that. I'm talking about for the men, especially, right? That's the whole thing.
How long can we watch YouTube?
As long as you're listening to my lectures, there's no problem. You can watch all day. Listen to my lectures, you can watch it all day. I have 600 lectures there. So I have 2 for each day of the year.
Mhm. I see.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so there you go, right? Yeah, so that's why like the really big tzaddikim, the big chachamim, what they do, right? They only do things like this, like non-Torah subjects, they only study this when like they're in the bathroom or something, like they can't learn Torah there. Otherwise they're learning Torah all day. There's nonstop,
Now the idea of sleeping for 8 hours, working to provide
Yeah.
for 8 hours, and the other 8 hours learning Torah, is that a riddle, or is that?
I mean, in theory, it sounds very nice, but in practice, it doesn't work out like that. You know that.
No, I never knew that. I thought that was what's expected of us.
It's only in theory. I don't think there's a man in the world who does this.
No, I'm not saying minute.
8 hours of sleeping, 8 hours. I don't think there's one man in the world who does this. Honestly.
No, I'm not saying it should be followed, second by second, minute by hour.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is that it's just, it's not a very common thing, in life that you have you split it up into 8 hours, each thing. It's a very uncommon thing.
I see.
You know why that is?
Mm.
Because people can't control their schedule like that. They're not in such strong control.
But my question was, is it something that's actually written, or rabbinically
it's written in the Rambam. It's written in the Rambam, but the Rambam is talking about a worker, like a person who's a worker.
Right, which I would say 99% of the population is. I mean,
don't be so sure about that, by the way. A lot of people don't work, they're just lazing around looking at internet all day. You'd be surprised how many free men there are in this world. Yeah, you're not coming in so clear, David. You're not coming in so clear. I think your reception is not so good. Anyway, right, that's the story. So yeah, right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Again, it's
the majority.
coming in badly.
Okay, I hear you very well. So
okay. Now it's good. Now it's good. Go ahead. Try again.
So
yeah.
Okay, so the majority of the people, unfortunately, have to work to survive. So
yeah,
that's what I meant. The majority of the people,
It doesn't really matter, majority or not majority. You have to do according to what you are or what your level you are. I mean, if you're working 8 hours a day, so okay, those 8 hours are gone, but the rest of the time, you have to spend for Torah as much as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing.
All right, so the Rambam was being somewhat idealistic when
exactly, like the ideal, the average, mean, right? That kind of lifestyle, which is very hard to find.
Yeah.
Here's the clincher. Okay, the clincher is like this. He himself, the Rambam, by the way, when he was working as a doctor, he wasn't able to study at all because he was too busy as a doctor.
Yeah.
So he was only able to study on Shabbat. So you see, right, that he himself, he couldn't even fulfill his words. That's what he writes in his memoirs, So what happened was with the Rambam is that the most of the Torah that he learned was when he was young. So when he was young, his relative was supporting him, right? An uncle or something. And he was sitting and learning all day. That's when he learned most of his Torah. And then when he went out to work as a doctor, he couldn't learn it all. He was totally busy in his job. So he was only learning on Shabbat.
Mm-hmm. I see. Do you think that the Rambam was the first man of medicine that was observant? Because most people in medicine are atheists. There were
very many rabbis who were doctors. Like for instance, from the Talmud, right? Shmuel was a doctor. You know,
Mhm.
and the Ramban also, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman also was a doctor. There was many doctors who were rabbis. The truth is, you know, that the profession of medicine is very it's a very Jewish profession.
Yeah, I would assume so.
It's been like that like since the beginning of time. Okay. Okay, whatever. Anyway, right, let's go on. So as we said, right, that the men are obligated to learn all day. So they never have to stop. They don't stop all day. So how can you bless afterwards? What does that mean afterwards? There should be no afterwards. That's the whole thing, right? So therefore, right, it's not relevant to say such a thing like that. That's what the Beit Yosef is saying. But you know, I must tell you, you know, like since we have some ladies here, right? I have to tell you some good advice, okay? You know, take it with a grain of salt, whatever. But the truth is, you know, that you have to understand one thing. When you get married, okay, and you have a husband, you have to understand your husband is obligated to learn more than you, you know? So don't try to like make your husband like your, you know, like another lady in the house, you know? He's not a lady. He's obligated to learn all day. So what does that mean? You know, try to make him allow him to learn as much as possible. Don't interrupt him, you know, when he's learning. That's what I'm trying to say, you know? As much as possible, you know. I mean, look, there's also to also spend time with your family, obviously. I mean, everything requires some time, but you know, don't try to like make your husband like you, you know. Say, well, I'm not learning. Why are you learning? Excuse me, but you know, I'm obligated to learn. That's something else. You're not learning because you're not obligated. So don't compare yourself to me. You know, that's the whole thing, right? So a woman has to understand that, right? That the man has more of an obligation for that. So you got to give him, you know, the benefit of the doubt and let him do his job. Very important to know that. Okay, a piece of good advice for the ladies.
Rabbi, if there's just very little time left during the day, and the man really is, you know, he's wanting sex.
Okay.
What should be devoted? What should that very little time remaining be devoted to? To his sexual needs or the Torah?
There's time for everything, you know. There's a time and place for everything. The one doesn't really preclude the other.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem, Hashem gave us 24 hours in a day. We have time for everything. Procreation, you know, Torah, we got time for dinner, lunch. They got time for everything, you know. There's a time, place for everything. Like, you know.
No, but I mean that
Yeah.
particular day, if there's very like,
yeah,
for instance, if you're really frustrated and there's very
Yeah.
little time and
yeah.
you know, a man has his needs and
Yeah, there's a
you know,
time for everything.
I'm
you
not
know,
talking about myself.
You know what it says, you know, about the
yeah.
Arizal? The Arizal says, right, who was one of the greatest Mekubal in the last 500 years, greatest Kabbalist. It says that when his wife would go to mikveh, you know, and he would have to be with her that night, right? So it says that what he would do is learn Torah until midnight, you know, because really it's better to be with your wife after midnight, right? Not so good before midnight. I'm talking about when you're having children, especially, right? So he would do it, learn until midnight, and then stop and be with his wife. That's what you should do, David. Learn until midnight, and then go be with your wife.
Yeah.
First thing you should do, David, is get a wife.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I was gonna say
That would be helpful. Yes, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, she beat me to it. Thank you. No.
Piece of good advice.
It's funny how my comedic, or you people take it as comedic. My questions are very serious, but
Of
my
course.
goofy questions always lead to some, you know, realistic
Sure.
part of
Yeah.
the Torah.
I agree with you.
You know. Yeah.
I agree with you. 100%. Okay, so very good. So I guess we can go on. Let's go to Shulchan Aruch here. We talked enough about all that stuff.
That was very good advice. Get a wife first before you have sex.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a piece of good advice.
Right.
Okay. I would go with that.
I'll think about it.
You'll think about it. Okay, that's good. Oh. Okay. Okay, good, very nice. Sorry that took time. Okay, I had to move this bar out of the way. It was getting in my way here. Okay, so this says in Shulchan Aruch like this. Omer v'harev, right? You say this in the blessings of the Torah, v'harev in vav, right? So as we said, the Sfarim do it with a vav, and it says the Ramah Haga v'yesh omrim belo vav. Some say without a vav. There you go, right? So that's your Sidur Ashkenaz. V'chen nahagmu, that's the best custom. So you see, David, we cover both Ashkenazi and Sfari. You understand? That's the way it is. Aval yoter tov lomar bevav. But he says, oh, look what the Ramah says. Better to say with a vav, he says. Wow. That's very interesting. But it seems like the Sidur has without a vav. Okay, whatever.
Kabbalah, can you repeat that word once more? The one that has the vav?
V'harev.
Yeah, it has a vav, the Ashkenazi.
Which one do you have? The Ashkenaz or the Sfard? What do you have?
No, Ashkenaz, and this one, the transliterated linear Sidur.
Is that Art Scroll or what? Is that Art Scroll?
Art Scroll, yes, Ashkenaz.
And it has a vav?
Yes.
Very interesting. Okay, there you go. So it seems like there's different customs, you know? So by the way, now, here's the thing, right? The clincher here. What does the Ramah say it's better to do with a vav? So the answer is, right, it was already answered in Bet Yosef, if you recall. We already answered it over there. Because when you put in a vav, it doesn't really harm either direction of this argument. In other words, whether it's one blessing or two, the fact that you put in a vav doesn't harm you. But what happens is that if you don't put it in, it's like you're interrupting. So therefore, right, it's better to do with a vav. So there you go. Okay, so all right. Well, sounds good to me. Looks like we got to the bottom of it. So now we're going back to the Tur Bet Yosef. So it says, so it says, if you're coming to learn right after the Kriyat Shema and the blessings, you don't have to bless on the Torah anymore, he says. This is the language of the Tur. Right, so now Bet Yosef explains this whole thing. What's the story there? So it says, right, in the end of the first parak of Brachot, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, name of Shmuel, Hishkim leshanot. Let's say he got up early, right? What does that mean early? Before the day, right? Late night. The wee hours. Ad shelo kara Kriyat Shema. Until he reads Kriyat Shema, then you have to bless also, right? The blessings of the Torah, you have to bless them. But he says, Mishakara Kriyat Shema, but once you read Kriyat Shema, and you don't have to bless any more blessings of the Torah. Right? Why? Because he was already absolved when he said the second blessing before the Kriyat Shema. Right? Right? By the way, the Sfaradim say Ahavat Olam. We're going to get into that later on, right? There's also a difference in the customs there. The Ashkenazim say Ahava Rabbah, and the Sfaradim say Ahavat Olam. Why the difference? Because there's two different opinions in the Talmud there, brought down. Okay, so it says Pirish Rashi. Rashi explains Sheyesh ba main brachat the Torah. Why after Kriyat Shema you don't have to say the blessings of the Torah? Because it has some kind of a blessing of the Torah there, included there. It's included in the package there. But it says like this, right? Put into our hearts to teach and to learn and to teach Torah. It says Tosfot. It says Yerushalmi brachot. Yesh had yaminan. There is, right? They say over there, they also, same thing, right? That he's already absolved because he said Ahavarabba. But he says that's only when he learned right away after Kriyat Shema. He learned over there in that place where he was. So the Ri was asked about this. Kegon Anu, he says, us, We don't learn right away afterwards, after Kriyat Shema, right? After we do the prayers. So then why don't we bless the blessing of the Torah afterwards? We start to learn the Torah. So he answers the Ri. Because we don't hold like this Yerushalmi, he says. We don't hold like that. The odd says furthermore, even according to Yerushalmi, Dafka Ahava Rabbah, that's only right, Ahava Rabbah, the second blessing, it's not really the main blessing of the Torah, right? In other words, it's something more on the side there, something minor, right? Not the major issue there. Because it's really the main purpose of Ahava Rabbah is for Kriyat Shema, not for the Torah, right? So it says because of that, so therefore he's not really absolved from blessings of the Torah by saying Ahava Rabbah, Ela, unless he learns right away afterwards. Also, he shouldn't make some kind of interruption there. With his thoughts, right? To think about something else, whatever. But it says when it comes to the blessings which are made, especially for the Torah, like the ones that we say every day, they do, right? They absolve you all day. So you're going to tell me what's the difference between this and Sukkah? That we need to bless every time. I'll call. Seudah, on every Seudah we eat in the Sukkah, Lesheb Sukkah, we bless. So it says, there is to say, the Shani Torah, the Torah is different. Why? Because as we said, right, when it comes to Torah, the person is obligated to learn all day. So you shouldn't be taking your mind off of it. Your mind should be on it all the time. The whole Adam Mechayev and Torah says because the person is obligated to learn all the time. The Ketuvah says in Yeshua, right? This is what the pasuk that we brought just a couple of minutes ago, right? It says, right? You should meditate in it day and night. It's like sitting all day, without any interruption. But it says when it comes to eating in the sukkah, right? There's times for meals, right? Fixed times for meals. You have, lunch and dinner, whatever it is, right? So he says the French people, says that their custom is lomar psukim birkat hakohanim, to say verses, and then birkat hakohanim. That's just like we do, right? That's what we do. And also this, right? This Mishnah, Shehi Mishnah, which is a Mishnah in Pei Aleph, Perek Aleph. It's also this Braita we say from Shabbat, because Yerushalmi, because according to Yerushalmi, once you make the blessings of the Torah, you have to learn Torah right away in order to fulfill your obligation. So it shouldn't be a blessing in vain. Okay, good. Yonah says also the Rabbeinu Yonah writes this. That's only if he was absolved by saying Ahava Rabbah. Then we need that he should learn right away afterwards. When he says the blessings of the Torah, even if he doesn't learn after a while, a few hours, you don't have to come back and bless. So Kasher, he says, Maran Bet Yosef, difficult for me, right? This passage. What is the difference between the blessing of HaMotzi that we bless for bread? If you made an interruption between eating and the blessing and the eating, you have to come and bless again. Right? So same thing should be here also for the Torah. That if you made an interruption and you don't learn Torah right afterwards, you have to bless again. It says also implies the same applies also for the blessings of the mitzvot. Birkat mitzvot. She'im if he stopped, Ben bracha le'asiyata, between the blessing and doing it, right? Le'asiyata mitzvah, doing the mitzvah. Tzarich lachazor baruch to bless again. When you're ready, and by the way, the same thing applies, to the issue of now we're going to check for chametz, right? Before Pesach, which is next week, right? So when we check for chametz, when you make the blessing for checking chametz, al biur chametz, you have to start checking right away, right? Don't do something else, because if you do, you lost the bracha. You have to bless again. So when you make the blessing, start checking right away. And then if you make an interruption, it's okay. Something happened there, whatever. You got a phone call, okay, no big deal. But once you make the blessing, you got to start right away. Otherwise, there was an interruption there. Same idea, Okay, good. So it says, so it says, it seems like the hamotzi is different. Why? So same thing, right, as we said before. The hamotzi is for eating, so that's not really a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah to eat. It's more like you're enjoying yourself. You're getting pleasure, benefiting from that. Right? So it says, it's also the blessings of the mitzvot. They're not coming ela ala asiyat mitzvah, to do the mitzvah. And ve'achila ve'amitzvot enam dvarim tzarich lasotam tamid. So he says that the eating and mitzvot is not something you have to do constantly, right? Umishum hach, he says, because of that, when you do them, tzarich shelo yafsik benehem, you shouldn't interrupt between them. Why? In order to display that the blessing is going on what? On the activity that you're doing. On eating, or doing the mitzvah. About Talmud Torah, but when it comes to Torah, it says, since the person is obligated to learn all day Torah, so then when he comes to learn several hours, after he blessed blessings of the Torah, doesn't really show or display, right? That he's reading the Torah without a blessing. Because there is to say, that when he got up, he blessed on the Torah already, and doesn't need to do it every time. And then he read right away some Torah. And also there is to say, so when it comes to eating and doing mitzvot, even if he wants, since if he wanted not to do them after a while, he has permission to do so. So therefore, when he makes the interruption between the blessing and the eating, or doing the mitzvah, so then you see, right, that's not connected, the eating to the blessing. Or that mitzvah. About Talmud Torah, but it says, when it comes to learning Torah, that is always liable to learn Torah, obligated to learn Torah. So then when he stops between the blessing and the learning, it's not really called a interruption. Why? Because at the time that he stopped, he is still obligated to learn. The obligation goes on forever. Okay, so this goes on for a long time. I guess we'll stop there. That sounds good to me.
Where are we stopping so we can remember tomorrow?
Yeah, I made a marker. It's right here. You see the third line there? Ve'im tomorrow. Aleph Taf. Okay, thanks for the assistance over there. I appreciate that. Okay, very good. So it's always good to have helpers. Okay, so thanks for coming.
We're on it.
I appreciate that. I used to have a guy in my class who used to do that. He always used to mark it, but he hasn't been around for a while. Okay, so anyway, thanks for coming. Laila Tov, Chazak Baruch. Be blessed with wealth, health, happiness, all the good things. And see you tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem. Chazak. Get ready for the holiday. Start cleaning the house. Okay, see you. Bye.
Well, thank you.
Bye.